Hi, everybody. Here we are back on Two Tarts on a Journey. And, we've been having a little chat about what's going on in the world today. And, we thought it might be a good idea to look at how far we need to take responsibility, or we could take responsibility for what is happening globally. And so we thought we might talk about the creation of our individual realities. So, hi Liz, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, Margaret. Certainly leads to a lot of thought and a lot of conversation on that and a lot of views and perspectives. So it's a big issue going on at the moment.
It's massive. It's massive, isn't it? And I just look at I try not to look at the global situation as much as I can. I don't really follow media at all. I like to catch up a little bit to see what's happening, what's going on in mainstream media, which seems to be getting more and more bizarre. And I love the fact that there are so many individual uh, podcasters now and reporters who are getting out on their own and they're not influenced by mainstream, which is so good. So it's giving us a more balanced perspective, I think. And there's a lot of incredibly intelligent and articulate people who are jumping on this bandwagon. So, let's talk about how do you believe our reality is created?
Well, interesting enough, that's come across my, what do you say? Across my thoughts of recent weeks, actually, just because of what's playing out, not just in the world. I don't really know what's happening in the global world because I don't tap in. I hear from individuals, but just looking at even my own families, my friends, realities that are playing out around. So, if we all believe that we're consciousness, which is a bigger issue, but if we can just go back to the we're more than this, and that our words are powerful and create our reality, that if you just come back to the fact that and look at what's going around in our own lives. So just to bring it back to the real basics, like if you got out of bed in the morning and you're feeling really lousy. So you start your day off and you go, I had a crappy sleep. I'm feeling achy. I don't want to go to work today. The weather's shit. I'm blah, 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 not full. And you get out, your day ends up being pretty bloody lousy because that's the way you started. But if you got out of bed and you've laid there and you're full of gratitude for your bed and the sleep that you've had and the coffee that you've just drunk, and you step out and the sun's shining, the birds are singing, you represent that, you go, your day's pretty good. So just going back to the basics, that's a really clear understanding of how our thoughts just created the reality of today. So if we can do it that simplistically, and then realize that if we walked into a room of people and we suddenly let out this yell and scream and abuse and all that, how it drops and changes the reality of that room. I'm talking about, call it, smallest perspectives here. And
Yeah.
then if we can think about that and then create it and think about what you're saying on a bigger scale, that if we are all putting words out there from fear and anger and chaos and negativity and depression, that it's got to be caught up there. And so what's playing out is a result of what each one of us individually are creating and putting out there. So if we can understand that our words are that powerful and just bring it back to ourselves and look how our words affect ourselves, that if you're putting that together as a collective, you're seeing that on a bigger scale of what's playing out now. And people are in fear and people are in chaos. And that's why we're seeing so much war and poverty and fighting and arguing, because people are putting that out there due to their own all heightened emotions. Long-winded answered there, but I just wanted to bring it back to the basics to
Absolutely.
spread it.
Absolutely. And I really like that long-winded view that you've put forward. Because I believe that too. And we can simply, you know, um, we can really simply look, as you say, come back to the basics and look at our everyday existence and how that is influenced by, and it's, it's our emotive thoughts. It's the thoughts that are engendered by our feelings, which of course is our nervous system reacting to what we are witnessing and what we're experiencing out there. So I think it would be a really good exercise to actually just delve into this a little bit further and like fleece it out and just see how simple it is to really focus on the things that we think. What would we have to be doing to consciously think? We think, I can't remember, about 250,000 thoughts a day.
I think it's something absolutely ridiculously a second as well, because we have so many things come in and then one lands. But
Yes,
it's all about that cause and effect, isn't it? Or the way we react. So, you're saying that. So if it's how we react within ourselves from our own thoughts or from a thought of another person. So, to be able to, as you say, to look at that and change our own reality would be to not react without sort of stepping back and having a think about that and coming from a different place. So every time we react without thought, we're creating that negativity and those thoughts and that anger and those issues to come out. But it all goes back to, it doesn't matter whatever our conversations are, that if we can bring it back inward and think about it and come from a different place and not anger or that, and just think, oh, how does that feel, or whatever, and have a think about it and put a different perspective or come at it a different way. Like if someone says to you, oh, you're an idiot, instead of saying, well, you're a dickhead or something, step back, just step back and going, well, am I an idiot, or is that perspective? And even just let that go. That's already dissolved. So that hasn't grown into this big thing that's then waffled out into the universe to make something bigger. Just in our own reality, we've already diffused that before it starts. But if we comment straight away, we've ignited something that didn't need to be, because we've reacted without thought, and from a place usually of fear or our own lack or insecurity. Don't know where I was actually going with that. Did that answer that? No, I think I went
Yeah,
off
it
a bit off
actually
the
did.
board.
It actually did, because it is all about our reaction to whatever's going on out here. And I think that's where mindful practice is so valuable. I like to begin my day, and I'm sure you do, and I'm sure a lot of us do. I like to begin my day with getting outside, putting my feet on the grass, whether it's wet, sunny, it's wet today, sunny, whether it's freezing cold, just get those bare feet out on the grass and ground myself before I do anything else. Take a couple of deep breaths. It only has to be 2 seconds. And, have an intention to be still and to carry, to have an intention to carry that through the day. And when we are in that stillness, I always ask myself, am I present? Can I feel my consciousness, myself in my feet? Can I feel my feet, myself in my legs, in my body, in my arms, in my neck, in my head? Am I present? Yes, I am. And when we're present, we cannot slide out of that. We can slide out quite easily, sorry. We can't be somewhere else. So we can't be in the future. We can't be in the past. And that's, I think, where a lot of our reactions are coming from, our programmed past. How we've reacted in the past. to certain triggers. So, yeah, so just a really simple practice, daily practice, and an intention with that gratitude, as you say. It's like, what have I got? What am I starting my day with? And then,
I
I
think
don't
it
know.
does mean, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it does. Like, even, if you don't get outside, even if you roll over in bed and they're just simple, I always say, and I've been saying for a while, just keep it simple. Roll over. And
Yeah.
if you have a thought, don't pick up your phone. Smile. The smile on your face, your cells start to smile. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is smile. Breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a lot of breath work and things at the moment because we are all, stuck in this. We're not breathing properly. So, just take a breath, that breath in, that deep belly breath, and that expansion, and just release with this smile on your face of how grateful you are for the bed that you just slept in. And it doesn't matter what's going on around you. You had a blanket, you had a roof over your head. Now, for those that might not have that, there might be something else, and we've all got to dig a little bit deep, but they're those thoughts that can set us up for the day. And as we go about our day, things do get rough, and we are living, in this 3D world, and people do say things and we can go to react. But if we go to react, just stop and breathe. Take a breath. And do that once or twice. And then if you realize that the words that you said weren't the right ones, go, I'm sorry for saying that. Or just think before we speak. And yeah, it's not all a bed of roses and we're all going through it, but I can tell you our reality and our inside world will alter just from doing those simple things. And no, it's not easy, but as we do that more, we will see the things around us, the bigger issues, the neighbours, the friends, the people that come into our shop, the people that come into contact. They will also start to feed off that.
Mm.
So those little things, so people that think we don't create our reality, if you start doing those for yourself, those simple things, you look at who the people you contact with throughout those days, you will find that they will be on an equal energetic or an emotional place that you are, and you won't get those unkind words and that because you're not projecting it out. So every time it comes back to that before you speak or feel, and it does, and that's when you realize big how far we can create our own reality with the wars and everything that are going on from our simple actions that feed onto the next person, the next person, the next person that's going out there. So it is really simple. We don't need to go overcomplicate it. We don't even need to believe that we're energetic beings and higher consciousness and limitless things.
So true.
Just do simple things and see the difference that what happens around you, and then you can start to understand perhaps on something different that you do have a part that's playing out around your world, but in the greater collective as well.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that reference to breathing. The breath is the most, well, if we didn't breathe, of course, we wouldn't be here, would we? But it's so valuable and so important. And, I didn't realize how valuable that belly breathing is, breathing down into your belly. I've always struggled with my breathing. And, then it was, I actually listened when I was doing yoga, and it was like, oh, I take the breath right down and swell it into my belly. I can do that. And the change in the way I walk, the change in the way I talk and move is phenomenal. So to say something so simple.
Well, you're expanding the lungs and the ribs. You're letting life in. You're expanding already. We walk around in fight, flight, or fear, or whatever. So, what do you think fear or anxiety does?
Yes.
So we're not bringing it in. So we're constantly, which means we're dehydrated. We're not feeding ourselves. We're not bringing it in. Just those simple things. When you start to get that anxiety or start to have those thoughts,
Mm.
that breath and the expansion of the ribs and lungs out, feeling it and just sighing it out. Doesn't matter whether it sighs out through your nose or mouth, but just feeling that absolute letting go can make just a big difference. I mean, if anyone's listening to this, if you just did that 2 or 3 times while you're listening to us now, the difference in your body, the tension in your shoulders, just that release, you know, you just feel more awake, more alive. It's just a simple thing, but we can alter what's going on around us. Talking about, do we create our reality? We do from our thoughts and actions. So if we can change our thoughts or stop before we think and
Mm.
take a breath,
Yeah.
what comes out of our mouth will be usually quite different from what it might have been 5 seconds ago, which means you've diffused a fiery situation or a negative situation by perhaps a more positive one, by not reacting, by not saying something, or saying something that's more loving, or not saying anything at all.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I wonder if we might just do right now, right here, do a couple of just do a couple of breaths with each other and with anybody who might be watching. Because it does, we can actually feel in that moment, we can feel the difference. So I'm going to hand it over to you, the beautiful yoga teacher. Um,
I'm looking more at breath work at the moment and doing some things, but our basic breath work is inhale, exhale, pause.
yeah, yeah,
Inhale, exhale, pause. But we don't often do that. We often,
yeah, we
whether
do.
it's long, short, or whatever, we're not pausing for that moment for the diaphragm to relax before it contracts again. So perhaps we can just take a breath in
Yeah.
and being mindful, it's a wave breath. We're going to breathe down into our belly. We're
Mhm.
going to feel the expansion of the lungs and the ribs. And then we're just going to start to exhale and feel the lungs and ribs collapse in and the belly button slowly go back in. And just pause for a moment till you feel that diaphragm just release. And your body knows when it needs to breathe again. So then it will just start again. So, all right,
So
let's
should we
just
close
take it.
our eyes?
Close your eyes and just
Yeah.
take an inhale in, a slow inhale in, and just feeling breath down into the belly, expansion of the ribs and the lungs. Just feel it. And then you can let it out through your mouth or nose, just letting go. And just pause for a moment. Just feel the release. Then when you're ready, breathe into the belly and allow the expansion of the lungs and ribs to move out. And you can just do a sigh, equal distance. Just hold for a moment. Breathe in again. And exhale. With a gentle pause. Your body knows when it's going to breathe again. The diaphragm releases, and then you just breathe in again. And let's sigh it out. One more like that. And just feel how good your body just feels in those couple of breaths, the sigh out, the letting go. You feel the tension melt away from your shoulders. You just feel there's nothing else. You're not thinking of anything. And then you can open your eyes and come back to reality, but in a different place and feeling differently.
Thank you. That was beautiful. So simple. And it takes a few seconds. It's just beautiful, and it's stillness. So can you kind of dive a little bit deeper into the value that we get from that pause, that pause between out breath and in breath?
Well, my perspective of what I'm learning is that is our natural breathing pattern is to take an inhalation in where our diaphragm contracts and moves up. Then we let go. That's a letting go. And we allow it to relax and just go back to its normal resting place. Our body's inner knowing then knows when it's going to kick in again from that pause. So you might need a longer pause or a littler pause, and then all of a sudden you're not breathing, your body's breathing for you, and it automatically breathes in again Then you just go again to that letting go, the breath out. You're not doing it if you're not, we're not doing it from anxiety or rushing around. The body knows that it needs to breathe and when it needs to exhale and inhale. And then there's that pause and it just relaxes again. And then the diaphragm just knows, it just goes, oh. So if we can become aware of our breath and put value on our breath, that it's keeping us moving, it's keeping us alive, and know that the body knows how to breathe itself. It's an automatic state of being, but we've forgotten how to be that automatic state of being because we don't often allow our body to breathe. We breathe for us through our circumstances. If you're angry, anxiety, running, rushing, we're not finding that stillness. And even in stillness, people go, I can't meditate. Bring your mind back to the breath. It's just that inhalation into the belly. The expansion, the diaphragm lifts up, largest muscle. And let it go. And that pause. Your mind's not going anywhere in that moment. And if it does, bring it back to that inhale. Allow the body to breathe it for you. And be aware of when it exhales. And you begin to feel the diaphragm let go. And then it inhales again. So that pause is allowing that diaphragm to release, let go, your body relax, and then your body knows when to kick in again and start to breathe. And it is practice and it is learned. It's not going to happen. It's like mindfulness. It's like meditation. Because I have not been breathing properly for many years. You know, I look at it and some days I'm breathing really shallow, which means I'm not expanding. My mind's not getting the air, the breath, the oxygen that it needs to think, create. Our bodies aren't moving everything. Our cells aren't working properly. They're a bit starved because we're not oxygenating them. So just being aware of that. How fast am I breathing? How deep is my breath today? You know, and there is different times for breath, but if we can find stillness, you know, could be just 2 minutes a day. Just sit down every couple of hours and just go, and just do those few breaths. You're just oxygenating, you're bringing it in, you're closing your thoughts down, and that's that pause. Your body knows when it needs to breathe again instead of taking over your breath.
Yes. Yeah. I often say to my young mothers, you know, just every morning, 2 minutes. If you can't go outside, then just pretend you've got your feet on the grass. You know, everyone remembers what it feels like. And just for 2 minutes, do your breathing slowly. So let your children see you doing that rhythmically every single day. That's how our children learn, by the modeling that we, that we portray. So it's just simple. I would love
Just that thought then, though, that just when you were talking, with mums, we need to give ourselves a break. We actually need to allow and go, I can stop and breathe for a few breaths. Like it's okay to stop. And I just got that picture there when you were sitting there, that if we gave ourselves permission to rest, and it doesn't matter the age of the kids, that could be 2, 3, 5, 6, just all sit down together and hold hands. And this is the circle I was getting, because we're giving ourselves permission to sit down. We don't need to get dinner. We don't need to put the washing on, do the vac. Sit, hold the kids' hands. And I'm not saying it's easy, but okay, let's just breathe in together.
Yeah.
You've given yourself permission to stop, and the kids are noticing that, and it's a game. Do that for 3 or 5 cycles, then get up and go about it. And another couple of hours, especially if the kids are getting a bit ratty, sit down again. I was just getting, it starts with us, though, because we don't give ourselves permission, because we don't think we're worthy to stop and have that time out. So it starts with us, and that's what we've been talking about. It's that inner. Everything reflects our reality. If we're running around, the kids are going to be ratty, screaming and that. But if we can actually go, oh, I can see I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Stop, but make it a game. Hold their hands. Let's get into a circle and breathe together.
Yes. And if they want to wander around, it doesn't matter. It's like, this is what I'm doing.
And you're changing what's going on around you.
Yeah. They feel the result through your energy afterwards. And after a while, and I've seen it in practice, after a while, it's like, I think they'll wander over and have a little sit down and close their eyes and however it happens, it'll morph into what your desire for yourself to be is for,
And
for
that's
yourself to be.
And that's a perfect, where we started the conversation, you said about, how do our thoughts create a reality? If again, I started talking about simplicity. That is a perfect simplistic thing to do to actually show yourself, whether you're a mum or a dad, stay-at-home dad, sit down and do
Yeah.
that simple exercise, and that will show you how you're co-creating your reality as
Yes.
to how things around you in that simple moment can stop the kids screaming or yourself going, just in despair. I can't get all this done. There's too much happening. You sit down there for those few breaths in that moment and look how your reality in that moment changes. And
Yeah.
you can't not see that and go, wow, there is power in my words and thoughts and actions and how I change them each day.
Yeah.
Those simple things, then you can then take it out to the big collective, what we began talking about and how we're creating what's going on in the world by all our joint thoughts and actions. Just bring it back to ourselves in this moment, because that is going to change the bigger picture. If 100,000 people did that all at once in one moment, the effect on the world on it would just stop.
Yeah.
And anyone that doubts that, it's been done time and time and
Yeah.
these meditations that are done throughout the world to Pacific time for 10 minutes, the experiments that have been done in a township with huge crime and things like that that have shown that it changes, it does work. So just bring it back to yourself into your everyday moment and see that it really does work, and then allow it to filter out to the bigger collective and notice the change that we begin to create.
Yes. And I think it's interesting too, thinking about what you were talking about before when you're talking about your breathing, and it's, you're not coming from anxiety, you're not coming from anger. So I think it's really interesting to look at what happens when it's generated through action, not reaction. So it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it in reaction to frustration or whatever's going on out there. It's just, okay, this is my time. This is my time. It doesn't matter what chaos is going on. This is my time. I'm breathing. And, my dream was always to create a specific curriculum for schools. And and I just think, just imagine, so simple. If in the morning, the first thing we did was beautiful breathing, watching the teacher, just curious, curious, what on earth is she doing? She's sitting still. Even if so many mums take their children to school in the morning, it's like, would it be possible just to sit in the car, take a few deep breaths, and just notice the difference in the children as they settle into their seats, put their seat belts on, just simple actions.
But it's really, you talk about that, and again, we've overcomplicated life. When you were talking, it's like, and I've done it growing, in previous as well. Oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time for that. But all these things starts with us, especially adults. We filter down to our kids. So if you can imagine just keeping it simple, bringing it back to simple, the boardroom, where a lot of anger and a lot of words are said there. If everybody, and it might sound ridiculous, but if everybody before a meeting started just sat there and took 3, 4, 5 deep breaths and letting go before it started, it would be absolutely a different place. So the boardroom, the men, the women in there, they're taking that because they're running, they're going home and they're bringing it down to our kids. But if we all just brought it back to the simplistic of just taking a few moments, which we all have time. We can't no longer say we don't have time. We breathe every day. If we didn't breathe, we'd be dead, as you said.
Yeah.
But if we all took those moments as adults in boardrooms, at work, 5 minutes, we could just do it together, 5 breaths, and then get on with your day. It'd be a total different thing, and we'd be total different parents, beings, humans, taking it out on the street, taking it into a shop and taking it home to our kids. We overcomplicate it. That is how simple it is. We all have time to breathe. and we can do it together. And that can absolutely change and alter the course of what's going on in our own lives and around us and out in the world collectively. When you were talking, it can't be any simpler. It cannot be any simpler. And it starts with us. And it can start with breath.
Yes, yes.
So it was just like, oh my God, do it in the boardroom, take it into the shop. That just is going to change so many lives.
Yeah.
Not only our own.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Take it everywhere. Take it everywhere. As you say, we breathe every moment we are breathing. Just be aware of how we're breathing, where we're breathing, and why we're breathing.
Put the shoulders back, allow them to drop. It's just we can. And, the words, just stop overcomplicating it. It's simple, simplistic. Everything is simple, and just bring it back to breath. And just if anyone that is listening to this, take 5 minutes, 3 minutes, breathe, bring your kids in, bring it into the boardroom, bring it in the shop. If you're about to react about something,
stop. Yeah.
Because your reaction is going to be totally different to what it would have been prior to that breath. And the course of action of that is going to be totally different to what the outcome would have been. So start changing it yourself and taking it forward in a different way, each one of us. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And on that, my beautiful friend, I think we might finish. What a beautiful thing, simple and effortless to take out into the world today. Thank you very much.
And change your reality, change it. I'd love to hear actually people who do listen to this, some comments, whether it be now or a little bit down in a couple of days, that people that did decide to breathe before did it make a difference? Did you sit down with your kids and take some breath? Give us some feedback, because I would find it very hard that your reality in that moment did not change or the way you felt. And it would be great to hear, if anybody does do this, to what your thoughts are.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Well, this is 2 tarts on a journey. Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.